Okay, good evening, everyone. We'll go ahead and call to order the Sacramento Regional Transit District Board meeting for Monday, September 11th, 2017. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Director Budge? Here. Director Hanson? Director Harris?
Here.
Director Hume?
Here.
Director Jennings is marked as being absent. Director Kennedy?
Here.
Director Miller?
Here.
Director Natoli? Director Chenier is marked as being absent. Director Cerna will be a little late. And Chair Moran.
Here.
With that, we have a quorum at 100 votes. This meeting of the Sacramento Regional Transit District will be cablecast without interruption on Metro Cable 14, the local government affairs channel, and will be streamed live on RT's website. Tonight's meeting will air on September 13th at 6 p.m. and replayed on September 14th at 9 a.m. on Channel 14 and webcast at www.metrocable.tv. It is also closed caption. Members of the audience wishing to address the board should fill out a speaker card located at the rear of the room and provide it to me or Adam. Please speak into the microphone and state your name for the record. We would appreciate everyone turning off their cell phones. And we now have the arrival of Director Cerna.
Okay, great. Thank you, Cindy. Would everyone please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, first item, please.
Public addresses the board on matters not on the agenda.
Okay, thank you. We do have a number of requests to speak on business from the floor, and we'll start out with Helen. Helen O'Connell. And if we can get the mic to Helen there, and Jeffrey Tardagia is on deck there, and then Crystal McGee-Lee.
Helen O'Connell. I once again want to bring up the lifetime pass for the seniors over 75. Most of them are losing their driver's licenses around this time, and they are bus dependent for doctor's appointments, grocery shopping, hair appointments, all kinds of other stuff that they need to accomplish. And it's also good that you try and get the buses to go to senior apartment complexes because they can't walk very far. And I am in favor of reinstating the lifetime pass for the seniors over 75.
Okay,
Thank you.
great, thanks. Thanks, Helen. Jeffrey?
Well, Steve, you've just walked in. 30 minutes of silence, 9/11. 30 seconds. Guys, remember this day. Something changed. You have a lot of unintentional consequences that are coming soon. Steve, I hope you explain about ACT and how that affects what's going on with regional transit. And that's dealing with the 19th Street Township project through there, dealing with the corridor of using the railroad with the San Joaquin transit through there. I hope the board understands what I'm talking about. I hope, Henry, that you, when you go around through these route optimizations, that you also explain how that may occur related to, and I still don't understand why Broadway is not being considered in this procedure where you're considering City College as a location in regards to this. Dealing with the, should we say, other issue of the I-80 elevator. I hope that there is progress, and I hope you know exactly how much inconveniences were occurred with the American River College students since the start of the semester. I hope you also, when you get to item number 8 and I appreciate you, Don, pulling that out. I really kind of wonder at $225 an hour how that equates to the number of hours through there. And last time it was 50, now it's 40, should we say, improvements. Which ones are credited to Don Carter, and which of them are credited to Henry for the millions of dollars that has been saved with regional transit? Other than those, I will say to you you clearly don't know some of the issues with the Connect card and some of the problems that I would say to you, you really need to ask staff about what are constant and occurring problems related to that. But board, this is a board of directors. You need to know what's happening and going on. Related to the STA, related to the, should we say, neighborhood busing, I hope that, there is better oversight and likewise in the funding through there. And with that, I think my 3 minutes are up.
All right, thank you, Jeffrey. And Crystal. Good evening, Crystal.
Hi, good evening. My name is Crystal McGee-Lee. I'm the ATU Vice President. Unfortunately, President Niz couldn't be here. Good morning, good evening, Chair, and ladies and gentlemen of the board, distinguished guests, and general public. President Niz couldn't be here tonight, so I told him I would come in his place. So I'm here to inform you about the union's concerns. The union and the district have worked collaboratively for the past few years, and especially in regards to the transit agents, having them come on board. Unfortunately, that goodwill hasn't lasted. At this time, the membership is extremely low, the low morale of the membership, due to this one snafu with the public relations, Ms. Wendy Williams, in regards to the operators not being in shape during that time when it was hot and the cabs and the light rail were extremely hot. We also have had issues with the district in regards to a quiet room. The drivers have a quiet room that we have acquired for the last 13 years, and now that quiet room has been taken away from the drivers. The union and President Niz and I want to let you know that grievances are up with the regional transit and the union. We have several grievances that are getting ready to go to arbitration. We have an impending court case also that will be coming down the pipe. President Niz feels, and I also feel, that it's very necessary to let you know what's going on. I'm not sure if you're aware of these things. And we all know the negotiations is coming down the pike, and at this time it's looking rather bleak. So it was our opportunity to come before you and tell you what is going on with the union membership and regional transit. I appreciate your time and listening, and I'm a little quick, so you have a minute for someone else. Thank you for your time and patience.
All right, Crystal, thanks for coming out this evening, and we'll give this some attention. All right.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, but if I could,
Yes.
Henry, maybe at some juncture, not this evening, but whenever, you can tell us about the quiet room and what happened there, since it's now been raised in kind of a public setting. So again, an explanation is.
Yes.
Okay, thanks.
Very good. Okay, so that concludes our business from the floor. So next item, please.
Consent calendar items 1 through 6.
Okay, any requests to pull? I have none.
I'd move the item.
Public, so.
Second.
Moved by Director Miller, seconded by Director Hansen. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions?
Motion carries at 100 votes. Next item, item number 7, General Manager's Report.
Good evening, Chair Moran. That's me. Good evening, Chair Moran, members of the board, and the public. First, I would like to give a brief update on our route optimization study, ROS. We have received several proposals in response to the RFP of our ROS program. A review committee, including case staff from SACRT, CCOG, in consultation with community organizations, including RTS Mobility Advisory Council, will evaluate the written proposals and receive presentations from the top proposals later this month. So updates will be provided as the selection process moves forward. Next update is about our several grant applications. Recently, we submitted 4 applications to Federal Transit Administration for the fiscal year 2017 bus and bus facilities capital grant program. This is a capital grant program is related to bus and bus facilities. The total funding is about $240 million. We sent the 4 applications. Hopefully we can get majority of that. Congresswoman's office, Matsui's office, and others helped us to send supporting document to the FTA. The first application relates to the critical need to replace the aging CNG compressors at our bus maintenance facility 1, the BMF1 fueling facility. 3 of the compressors are more than 24 years old, while the other 2 are 17 years old. The need to replace the compressors is critical because they are unreliable now. Parts are not readily available and are difficult to acquire because of the manufacturer is no longer in business. That is challenging we are facing, what the whole industry is facing currently. The second grant application is related to the potential Water I-80 bus transit center relocation and the route modification. Focusing on creating a safe, clean, accessible, and secure environment in our largest transit center. The third one is the neighborhood bus security expansion application, the neighborhood bus security expansion application, including the purchase of 21 community buses to expand service into underserved areas, such as Orangeville City Ride Route, Carmichael East Arden City Ride Route, Arden Arcade City Ride Route, Downtown Sacramento Shuttle Route, South Sacramento City Ride, and others, total about 10 routes covering entire underserved areas. We're going to bid on the money STA has for the neighborhood community bus service. Once we get the funding from FTA to get up to 21 community buses. The final application involves the rehabilitation of the bus maintenance facility's second 2 facility. Try to rehab this facility into an operational maintenance center to accommodate future expansion of the fleet up to 125 buses. Right now, only 21 community shuttle buses are housed near. By rehabbing this facility, we can eliminate possible delays in transit service and provide an emergency backup location for all bus maintenance. And especially some emergency situation like right now in Florida, the Hurricane Irma caused there were lots of bus facilities under flood or under got lots of damage, and especially majority of all our buses are under the freeway in front of us. If something happened on this freeway, it's going to hurt us severely. So we're serious about that. Lastly, but not least, I'm pleased to announce the selection of Christopher Flores for the position of Special Assistant to the General Manager CEO. Chris is here. He will start in his new position on Monday, October 9th. For the past 11 years, Chris has worked in various capacities for the office of Congresswoman Matsui. He brings extensive community outreach experience and has been directly and effectively involved in numerous transit policy and funding initiatives, helping RT on many, many projects in the past. And I'm very excited for Chris to join SAC-RT team. And Chris, I'll give you 1 minute, to say something if you want.
I'll need less. Well, thank you, Henry, and thank you, board. This is a tremendous opportunity. I'm excited to join the Sacramento Regional Transit team and help improve the system. I'm proud to call Sacramento home. Bought a house a couple years ago, and I love this region. So I'm committed, as we see the economy and Sacramento start to rise, committed to make sure Sacramento gets the transit system we truly deserve. And so I'm excited to join you guys October, and I'm really looking forward to the opportunity ahead. Thank you.
Welcome,
Congratulations.
Christopher.
Thank you, Chris. So this concludes my GM report. Next, I would like to invite our police chief, Lisa, to give a brief update on our system-wide security.
Good evening, Lieutenant.
Good evening, Chair Moore and members of the board. Just had a couple of updates I wanted to share with you. First and foremost, I wanted to thank you guys in RT for supporting Officer French's, Deputy French's funeral. If you look at these pictures, Doug Cook and his wife, Lisa, did an outstanding job of decorating the RT buses that they sent to pick up the academy recruits from both the Sacramento Police Department and the Sacramento Sheriff's Department. And they even put the recruit classes on there. So I thought that was pretty fantastic. And every police officer, I think there might have been 4,000 or 5,000 police officers at that funeral, noticed it. So thank you very much. That was very classy and really outstanding and well noticed. So the transit agent and TO program today, transit officer agent today, I just wanted to give you a brief update. So we have 51 transit agents today and 7 transit officers. We have 1 superintendent, Vince Beatty, and then we recently just got a 3rd supervisor, so we have 3 supervisors. We have 28 agents assigned to 14 stations, and then we have 23 agents assigned to trains. We have 6 agents starting September the 18th. 75% of the morning commute is covered, and I will share with you a plan that I've shared with Henry to increase that number in the near future, because I think we can do better. 80% of the PM commute is covered. We have 4 key stations on special event nights that we make sure that are covered, and I do it in 2 ways. I do it with transit agents and with police officers, and that's at Sunrise, Franklin, Watton Manlove, and Roseville Road. Since the transit agent program has been created, they definitely have helped us with nuisance issues and reduce those types of calls for us. Agents at stations recently even have helped people their car from being broken into, so that's pretty spectacular because nobody likes that. They've also helped regional transit policing catch a number of criminals because they see the picture, and then they notify us. They've played a key role in customer service while assisting with bus bridges, so we move them into place when there's a bus bridge quite quickly, and they disseminate the information to our passengers, so they're critical for us in a bus bridge. They also assist riders with education, both on the Connect card and the mobile fare app, excuse me. And then lastly, one of the things that we're just really aggressively moving towards is that to increase safety on our trains, that they're picking up large trash items. So newspapers is a great one. Somebody could come and do a slip and fall on a newspaper or a big piece of cardboard that's left behind, so they're immediately picking that up, and that is a directive that they have now. So that's a good thing. And then the last thing I wanted to share with you, I keep giving you updates on the public address system about cigarettes and alcohol and other kind of funny things, but a really neat one was a really neat success story occurred on September 4th, Monday, where I don't know how this happened, but it did. At the Zinfandel station, a mom had her bicycle, got on the train, and got lost from her 4-year-old. And so they were able to immediately use the PA system to tell people at the station that, hey, we're looking for you to secure this child, and kept repeating the number to the Security Operations Center, and immediately that happened, and that child was safely taken care of. So I think that's the best example I have thus far to share with you on how amazing this PA system is, and it's grown to 33 stations, probably more since this week goes on, but it continues to be, a better and better success. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Great. Thanks. Thanks as always.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
if I could ask a quick question that you just made me think of this, that last comment there, the instance with the 4-year-old. I believe CHP used to have a program, or perhaps still does, maybe it's not as well known, where at one point in the year, they would proactively pull people over if they were exhibiting great behavior, driving skills, whatever. They're obeying the law or going out of their way to be considerate of other drivers or pedestrians or cyclists. Have we ever looked at the possibility of some kind of proactive campaign where when we notice our riders, whether they be in a bus, a train, or at a station, that are going kind of over and above as riders of the system, users of the system, helping others, that we could somehow be proactive, maybe incent good behavior or over and above behavior, for lack of a better phrase, with, tickets to local events or something like that. Something to acknowledge the fact that we are watching because we have the technology and the personnel to do it, but we're not just watching for bad behavior. We're actually beginning to take note of over and above behavior. Is that something that anyone's ever seen implemented in a transit system before?
I'll have to defer to Mark's 39 years of experience, because I've only been here since November, but I'm not familiar with that with the police department either. It's a great idea, but I'm not familiar with that.
I know this, I think it was the CHP that years ago did it, or may have been some local police departments, traffic units that were doing that, but it just kind of made me think of the prospect of having something proactive for our riders.
Yeah, we'll definitely consider it and talk it over.
Actually, Deborah is going to present the ridership campaign presentation later on. Definitely would like to incorporate that into our future campaign.
So we can give that some structured thought about how that might be part of it? Okay.
Yes.
Great, thank you.
Thanks. Director Natoli?
Yeah. Lisa, a question on the, as it relates to the automobile, either thefts and or break-ins. What is the number you're seeing in any given month?
Very low. For example, I just got a report. I get a weekly report from, and we had one auto break-in, and I can't remember the station, but it's very, very low. And we have our own internal bait, just like the local police departments do, and so we quickly deploy it, whether it be bicycles or cars, because we want to catch the thieves and make them stop. So that's a very important priority for me.
Does the voice of God, does it reach out into the parking lots as well, or just to the station?
I think God might, but we don't.
He does, I'm sure. Okay. Thanks.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Lieutenant. All right. Next up, Henry. Oh, okay.
Next item, item number 8, resolution approving the Fifth Amendment to the contract for operational assessment and implementation of recommendations for cost reduction and revenue growth services with Douglas Carter and MBO Partners, and Laura Ham is here to present.
And I apologize. We need to reverse back to the last agenda item. I did have a request to speak on the general manager report from Arthur. So Arthur Ketterling. And sorry, Arthur, that I had it written right in front of me and I still messed it up. So. Good evening, Arthur.
Good evening. I was wanting to ask a question on the Connect card, on the discount Connect card, and also the regular Connect card. When I know a couple of people was giving examples on how to do it, and in the film that was shown from the last meeting, how the Connect card works once you get on the bus. But my do you, like when we load the card on both, do we pay the full 55 and the full $110 on the regular card and the Discount Connect, or can we put like so much on the Connect card for
Right.
so long, and do we have to reload it if we don't do the full amount?
Okay, good question. So somebody.
And that's one thing that I was wanting to ask on.
Okay. And you had another question, Arthur, before because we can answer them all at once for you. So.
Yeah, and my roommate has been wanting me to ask on the Connect card that does how much is it that is the charge for getting the Connect card?
Okay.
He was wanting to know that and how to basically, I know basically how to do it, but
Okay.
I thought maybe that
Good.
because it's new, and he was wondering
Okay.
about
Good.
that.
Good questions, Arthur. And I think Brent's gonna run up here and get you some answers. So.
Okay, and I
Okay.
thank you
Oh.
very much. And just one thing, and this is for the officer also, that over at Mather Field today, that there was a bike stolen off of the bus. And the exact place was the very first bus stop right there in Rancho, right after you leave the Mather Field station. There was an officers there taking questions and all of what's happening and all and what happened.
So it got reported. Then?
Yes,
Okay,
it did.
That's important. So okay.
And I did want to bring that to the board as well.
Great. Thanks, Arthur. Okay, Brent.
Hi, Arthur. Thanks for your questions. They were good questions. The first question you had was, how do you put either value on the card or how do you buy a pass for the card? And so you have two options. You can, when you receive your card and you're at customer 1225 R Street, customer service, you can actually give them money, cash, or you can use your credit card and you can put $20 on the card, and that could be used for buying single tickets, full price or discount, or you can actually buy a monthly pass, full price or discount immediately at that point in time.
That would be for the Connect card?
For the Connect card, yes.
And how much is the card itself?
Oh, yeah,
Just the
yep,
card.
just the card. The card's free right now. We're still at a point where we're trying to get this card out to as many people as possible. At some point in time when we see total saturation in the market, we have the ability to charge up to $5 at that point, but we have not made that decision.
No reason to do that.
Not right
No,
now.
Very good. Thanks.
Okay,
Thanks, Brett.
you're welcome.
Yes, Director Budge.
I have a question. Not you. No, not him. Just a general question for Henry, because I'm sorry that this was something that was on consent calendar. Those LCFS credits, I probably got that backwards, and the other credits, can the revenue be used? Is the revenue unrestricted? Can it be used for O&M and or capital improvements, or is there a restriction?
It can be used for both.
For both?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Great. Okay, back to our regularly scheduled agenda, and sorry for the sloppy management there on my part. So you got the floor, Laura.
Good evening. So at your last meeting, you asked staff to provide more information regarding the accomplishments under the agreement with Doug Carter, as well as more detail regarding the deliverables and timelines under the Fifth Amendment, as was provided in the written report. So since the last meeting, we've worked with Mr. Carter to clarify the scope for the Fifth Amendment, as well as deliverables and timelines. There are 5 major tasks outlined in the issue paper. And as has occurred throughout our work with Mr. Carter, the deliverables will include on-site meetings, discussion or issue papers on each topic area, as well as coaching of executives and staff in strategic and technical skills to build future capability. So I'm available to answer any questions that you might have about the issue paper or the scope.
Okay, thanks, Laura. And so there is a lot more detail there, so I think all of us appreciate that. I have no requests to speak on this item. Any requests to speak from directors? Okay. So with that, I'll go ahead and move item 8. Seconded by Director Hume. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Abstentions? All right.
Motion carries at 100 votes. Next item, new business, item number 9, updating peer agencies list, information item, updating peer agencies list for comparison for best practices presented by Brent Berniker.
All right, good evening, Brent.
Good evening, Chair Morin and members of the board. So conducting a peer comparison is an important first step to evaluate the operational effectiveness of an agency. It also can demonstrate the need if there's additional resources or supplemental revenues. So what we've done today is we've prepared a couple of slides. Oops, did you skip ahead? Okay, oops. All right, sorry about that. So it's been about 13 years ago when we actually last brought this to the board for a review. What we did is we provided a list of the agencies that we wanted to rank ourselves against. At that point in time, the list that we prepared was at a national level, so you saw agencies from all the way down from the East Coast, Northern California, Southern California, and so forth. Now, when we've looked back at this data in the last couple years and we're looking at the statistics, we're seeing that when you get that national scope, you don't have a real true apples to apples comparison. What we're finding is that in California, there's certain state laws, whether it's liability laws or payroll issues that are unique to California. So now kind of looking back at this, we're saying there's probably a better case to bring forth just California agencies. So that's what we're doing in this issue paper. So the list that we've prepared today is, we're going to start with Santa Clara Valley Transportation Authority. This is referred to as VTA. You have MUNI, which is San Francisco Municipal Railway. And then you have LAMTA, Los Angeles County Metro Transportation, San Diego, MTS, San Mateo, Samtrans, and finally Alameda Contra Costa. Sorry. AC Transit, yes. So, there's a lot of slides that we prepared in your issue paper. I'm not going to cover all of them. This is in the interest of time. I'm going to touch on just a few of them. And the first one we're going to touch on is the hourly rail cost for bus and rail. Before I go on to the slide, I'd like to discuss where we get this information. This all comes from the Federal National Transit Database. So this comes directly from the database. We don't do anything with the data. It's just presented in the format in front of you today. So the way this format is laid out is you have your light rail peer group above, and in the bottom you have the bus peer group. So you can see it on the light rail peer group, we're right in the middle, and you're looking at an hourly rate of $32.33 for our light rail peer group. The top range is at, I think it's 36, and I'm having a hard time reading the numbers from here, at 38, is that right? Yeah, 36. Okay, thank you. 38, and on the low end, it's about 22. On the bus side, you'll see that we're actually a little bit below the middle, which is good. We're at $27.09. The next slide I want to cover is the cost per revenue vehicle hour. In this, on the bus side, we actually rank really favorably at $140 per vehicle hour, where most of our peers are up at $145 to $258 per hour. So we're doing really good on the bus side. On the light rail side, we're also doing very good. You can see we're at $260 per vehicle hour, where our peers are about $359 all the way up to about $390. And then, oops, I want to get back to, and then slide 8 is the fare box recovery slide. We bring this forward in our peer, our monthly financial report where we look at fare box recovery, and so I wanted to stress this slide. And if you look at this, you can see on the bus side, we're slightly lower than average, where on the rail side, we're above the average. when you combine these, we're probably around the 20% fare box recovery ratio. And as you recall, this is just taking our total fares, dividing it by operating expenses. So as long as RT is able to move forward with this strong ridership campaign that brings in paying riders without deeply discounted rides and continue to control our costs, we think this is an area where we can continue to push this up. That's all I wanted to bring up right now. I do want to bring up, this is 2015 data. The 2016 data will be coming out in the next few months. But that concludes my presentation.
All right, nice to see that information. Thanks, Brent. Questions for Brent? Director Budge?
Yeah, I realize you can find statistics that say anything.
Yeah.
And use them any way you want.
Yes.
It just seems counterintuitive to just focus on California when the disparity between agencies is so extreme. It's really difficult to comprehend any real comparison between ourselves and something like LA Metro. And you know, in the ULI newsletter today, there's a comment about them even giving out grants to local communities in order to fund plans to do transit supportive development. And, you know, we're just not in the same league.
Yeah.
So any way you look at it, there might be an opportunity to do a combination of agencies, both inside California and outside California, but not just drop some of the ones that are closer to regional transit in size, because it seems that way when you're looking at numbers of passengers served or numbers of miles traveled on transit, or percentage of ridership versus people who are on bicycles or in cars. You know, there's ought to be some statistics like that that were factored into a true comparison.
Okay.
More of an apples to apples comparison.
Yeah, I think one thing we found is when you're looking at it from a cost structure perspective, we find that California has these unique laws. As the biggest one we found is from a liability standpoint. If we get in an accident, we have full exposure. In some states, they don't have that. They have caps of about $1 million on those accidents. So what we find is that our workers' comp and our general liability insurance tend to be a little bit higher here in California. The other thing we found is that as it relates to payroll issues, we have a state mandate with this PEPRA rule, right, as it relates to pension costs. And some of these other states have a little bit more flexibility as it relates to payroll issues and pension issues. So what we're doing from a cost perspective is when we benchmark ourselves against non-California agencies, we don't rank as favorably. But I do hear your point, and I think one thing we did also look at is when we took the original agencies and we looked at it from a peer comparison standpoint, we still actually, in many of these areas, I have a sheet looking at this cost revenue vehicle hour, we were actually right in the midpoint with some of those agencies. We were, there was 3 agencies above us and 4 below us on the bus side. On the light rail side, there was just 2 above us and 4 below us. When I kind of went through these other agencies, again, we rank pretty much in the middle, but what we did notice is that when it comes to costs, that's where we see that the value of just having California agencies.
And I do understand that. If you're strictly trying to provide a comprehensive statistic on how much it costs to provide the service,
yes,
then I would agree that this is valid. But we've used peer comparisons for other things, other topics, not related to cost to provide service.
Good point.
And so in that case, this doesn't give you the kind of peer comparison that would be valuable on other subjects.
That's a valid point. And maybe I should have, I hope I said it in my presentation. This is used in our budget document, which is where we're coming from. But when we look at peer comparisons in some of these other areas, we'll make sure that we look at other transit agencies as well. Would that address your concern.
That sounds more logical.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes,
Thank you.
Director Budge, this is exactly what we used for the actual the financial audit report, because the financial audit report is really looking at the cost. Two major items, the differences between California agencies and other, agencies in other states. It's the liability. For example, many other transit agencies in other states, the different states have different mandate or the cap on the liability. For example, California or Florida, they have $200,000 on each occurrence. For us, it's unlimited. So that's why we have California has lots of large dollar amount settlements, and in our liability cost, our budget-wise or the actual cost is about 3 times higher than other transit agencies in other states. Another major difference is the pension. Our pension, because of 10, 15 years ago, California pension, had a huge spike. But then PEPRA did not allow us to change that, but other states, they allow to make those changes. So that's why, we revise this peer comparison, peer agencies. But certainly on other, comparison, for other comparison purpose, we should and we definitely will use, other agencies in other states.
And I can see the emphasis on that in your very first paragraph here, but I did interpret it more globally.
I might have not said that in my presentation, so I
Okay,
apologize.
But that's all right. I appreciate the clarification.
Yep.
Okay, thanks. Director Hume?
Thank you, Chair. So Brent, in every table that you showed, and I appreciate the brevity as opposed to what was in our staff report, in every table that you showed, San Diego is at the top of the list. If it's costs, they're at about 80% of our costs, as we can see at the fare box recovery, they're at the top. So I think they ought to be used as a model. What are they doing? How are they doing it so well? But I can tell you from having lived there that the trolley is very well regarded. It's clean, it's convenient, it's safe, it's well used. But what I would be curious to find out is I know it's an open system just like ours, and how are they getting north of 50% fare box recovery?
I think it's a good question. I think this is one area, if you look at their costs, they're really low. We looked at it from the cost side first, and I know they have a 401A plan as opposed to a pension plan. They're one of the few agencies that have kind of migrated over in that area, and I think recently the board's allowed us to look at that as an option, so that's where we're looking. From a fare recovery standpoint, I think they have, obviously they have a different population, they have a different system than ours. I think one thing Henry's vision has been is trying to get these bus feeder systems. And I know when he spoke to the CEO over at San Diego, that was one of the things they discussed is getting more feeder buses to our light rail system. So I think if we can do this route optimization process and implement something similar, we should be able to start bringing up our fare box recovery.
And another major, probably the biggest fact for them to have the lower cost is starting 25 years ago, they contract out the service to the private sector. So they keep those rates low from beginning. So the increase every year was small. So that is the history 20, 30 years ago. And that we certainly, we would like to have that, but I don't think that's realistically, we can benchmark it.
Yeah.
That's the major
Mr. Chair.
Yeah, Director Buck.
So I certainly agree with Pat. We'd like to know how they do it. But it's interesting. Some of us remember that the San Diego system was basically funded by legislation by Senator Jim Mills all those years ago. And it would be really interesting to look back in that initial legislation and see if there's any kind of ongoing funding that was actually embedded in that legislation that maybe gives them a little extra boost from the state that nobody else is getting, or certainly we're not getting.
We'll write that down and look into that.
Okay. Any other comments, questions on this item? All right, no request to speak from the public on this, so next item, please.
Item number 10, information, Sacramento Regional Transit District Ridership Campaign, presented by Deborah Salinas.
Good evening, Deborah.
Good evening, Chair Warren and members of the SACRT board. Trying to find the Huh? FY? See, I had a little helper how to lower the mic for me. So this is the fun part of the evening. Are you all ready? Tonight I'm presenting a concept campaign of an awareness campaign that we're preparing to launch this month. One of the goals of the campaign is to bring awareness of the significant role that transit plays in day-to-day life. The campaign is focused on creating a community of public supporters who better recognize SACRT's role in making the Sacramento region a better place to live, work, and play. I'm having a little trouble. There we go. That'll always work. The campaign theme, Part of Life, will feature different messages about the benefits of transit with a bold focus on RT, as you can see in the upcoming slides. We use strategic words that literally include RT in them, such as effortless, earth, concert, sports, and smart, to tie nicely to the supporting educational message that describes which part of life SAC-RT has an impact on. Campaign messages were developed in part as a result of SAC-RT's recent community survey, which placed emphasis on education, economic impact, air quality, traffic, and civic amenities. The general public in the Sacramento region is the target audience with a focus on non-riders to show the many benefits of public transportation. Every segment of American society, individuals, families, communities, and businesses benefit from public transit. And we want to make sure even people who don't utilize transit understand how SAC-RT is an integral part of the Sacramento region. Using the moments big and small that people experience each day as the backdrop, the visuals of this campaign literally paint a picture of how SAC-RT contributes to creating these moments with a vibrant yellow outline of a SAC-RT service. In this slide, the image is meant to be active and diverse, bright and relatable, but highlights how SAC-RT plays a role in the economy through the hand-drawn graphic depicting a light rail train tied with housing and investment. In the ad, the educational message reads, "Every dollar invested in SAC-RT results in $4 of regional economic impact." Oh, thank you. Another goal for this campaign is to feature all of life's moments SAC-RT can bring to them. A student learning about chemistry at a university or community college, fans cheering at their favorite basketball game, or a family enjoying many of Sacramento's civic amenities. The media plan has not been finalized. However, it will include a mix of earned, owned, and paid media. That concludes my presentation. Questions?
Great.
Great, that has RT in it.
Yep, it does.
And I mean, really the focus is this is region-wide. This campaign affects every region in our district.
Yeah, great start to that. So,
Okay.
Director Hanson?
Hi, I think this is a great campaign. I worry though that for such an important effort that this is not really a sufficient amount of money to spend to get the media impressions. Our own resources do help with that, our bus stops and trains and buses. But if we're really going to get further through paid media, I think it's going to be quite hard. The Russians spent about $150,000 just on the last presidential election.
Henry, you heard that. Brent, you heard that, right? I'm going to get more money.
And that was illegal. I think that we should be doing more to promote regional transit and have a positive message pushed out into the community.
I agree.
Earned media can't be counted on for that message, and I think this will be really well received. And I think it's integral to the efforts we're trying to do to show the public what changes we've made.
Exactly.
So I would be very supportive of, although this is an action item, but building into our budget a more significant ongoing effort, especially because this will attract the riders who aren't paying a subsidized fare. And we really need them to get our fare box recovery ratio up.
Right, and I think it's really important to show that it benefits people, even if they never take transit, and why it benefits them.
Yeah.
So it's a big picture, and I think, as a very wise board member emailed me, combined once we do the route optimization study, this really will help increase ridership, and we can really test that by seeing we have the monthly reports, and we can see how that works.
I think the increasing ridership is probably the most important goal.
Mhm.
I think communicating accurately what the agency is doing, the level of service that we're providing. I think the great
Mhm.
stories that Lisa has shared with us about our interest in making the station safer, but also more customer friendly, as well as the transit agents and the operators doing the same. We have great ambassadors, but unless you ride the system, you don't experience them.
Right.
I will say that what we're doing around the app, the fare app, and potentially merging that with our other RT apps, so
Mhm.
there's just one, would be helpful. But the Connect card and all these things, improving the fare payment systems at light rail stops, people who have a choice hate those things because they don't really work well. The old ones, the new ones will be much better. But if
Mhm.
you can skip the line and use your app, that's great, and that's something that people will really look forward to hearing.
Yeah.
And we need to give you the megaphone in order to tell them that.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thanks, Steve. Other comments, questions? Yes, Director Budge.
So I love it. I'm up for anything that helps, because, you know, it doesn't matter how good a service somebody provides or how
Mhm.
how outstanding the organization is. If you don't talk about it outside your four walls, it probably doesn't exist.
Exactly.
It's like having an internet presence. But Steve brings up a really good point. Some of these are very much intended to appeal to the younger generation that is very environmentally aware and very environmentally minded, and that's a great thing. But on that note, perhaps there could be one that talks about the ways, about how easy it is to access RT. I still think that switching from RideSec RT to Zip Pass is going to be something of a culture shock. But
Hey,
yeah, I
Brent,
know.
do you want to say how
No,
many people have signed up?
we already talked about that.
How many
one.
is that? 300? So in the short time that we've implemented, I think it's only been in like a week or two. 11 days. How many have we had? 359 people, customers have signed up on Zip Pass already. And considering we only had 1,800, I don't know if Brent wants to speak on this, but
I think you were on it.
yeah, 1,800 for.
Okay, but the point is not to beat that horse to death. the point is just to talk about it is part of life's journey, and part of life's journey is ease of connectivity, and
Absolutely.
it's easy to connect to regional transit.
I agree.
All right, any other comments? All right, next item. I don't think we have any.
I have none unless there are any reports, ideas, or communications from directors.
Anybody got anything? All right, looks like we are adjourned at about 6:23.